I previously installed the crankshaft timing sprocket and nose bearing, and now it's time to install the timing chain and master link shown at the bottom of the picture. This bike uses a single row chain, but the older bikes had dual row chains. There's also a tensioner and a rubbing block that are part of the timing chain installation.
This is the timing chain tensioner, which has a nose on it and a spring, and it fits here. But you can't install this after you get the chain in, so I have to put it in first. And it slides into its cavity here. And then it's always a little bit fun to get the nose to go in to the hole as it fights you. And you're kind of blind, you can't quite see what you're doing. Okay, I've got it in. And then this is the arm. So I'm going to mount the arm on its pin, slide it in, and there it is. Now it's in the way for putting the chain on. So what I'm going to do is push it all the way closed like that, and then I have a pair of vice grips that I can just clamp at the bottom, and that keeps it out of the way. Before I put the chain on, I want to position the cam sprocket correctly in relation to the crankshaft sprocket. Now the cam sprocket has a punch mark, and I added a paint mark to make it a little easier to see. And the crankshaft sprocket has a tooth, and there's a punch mark at the bottom of the tooth, but it's almost impossible to see when the nose bearing is on. So I put a paint mark on that tooth, and what I do is position the tooth on the crank directly across from the valley on the cam shaft sprocket. Then the other thing I do to confirm is I come and look at the flywheel timing mark, and OT's right where it needs to be for top dead center. So I know that the crankshaft is in the right position and the camshaft is in the right position. So then what I do is I thread the chain around and install the master link. So to get the chain to go over the sprockets, it's a very tight fit between the tension arm and the sprocket on the crank. But I use a small Phillips screwdriver that will fit here into that end of the chain, and I guide it up and over the top here a little bit like that, and just keep pulling it. And now at this point I want to visually align the mark on the camshaft with the mark on the crankshaft, and that's exactly where I want it. And then I bring these around like that, and then I use an old master link to catch the two ends of the chain. And sometimes you have to wiggle that a little bit to get them to go in. There. So that kind of holds it together. Now, what I want to be able to do is put the new master link in from the back, and I can't do that here because there's no clearance. So what I do is just rotate the engine and slide the master link back around until it's over on this side, and then I can use my needle nose pliers and the master link, the new one, and slide it in from the back. So that's the technique. As you can see, I've got the new master link just coming in from the back. but I can't take the old one out in this position because it'll bump into the nose bearing. So what I do is rotate the crank a little further so that the old link is out of the way, is past the nose, and then I can just push the new link in and pull the old link out. There it is. So it's installed, and then I just need to put the fish plate on. What I find in doing that is that it's easier to rotate the crank around again. And what I want is to actually have it so that it's up against this surface here, because then the link can't come out. So I can just continue to rotate down like that. Now the master link can't come out when I put the fish plate on. So I can push it in and get it to go on. Now the fish clip, which is this little piece here, goes on in a certain orientation, and the way to remember that is the fish swims downstream. So this is the head of the fish and this is the tail. The chain goes clockwise, so that means I want it to go this way on the master link, because as the chain is the direction of the stream, then the fish is swimming downstream. So I just use my needle nose pliers and snap it, and it's all installed. Now I want to re-verify that the timing marks on the camshaft sprocket and the crankshaft sprocket are still in the right place. So I'm going to, here's where the master link is, I'm going to rotate the engine around until they're aligned. And there's the camshaft sprocket point right there. Here's the timing mark on the camshaft, and that's the painted tooth on the crankshaft. So they're lined up again. So nothing moved in getting the chain mounted, so everything is the way it should be. Now that the chain is on, I need to secure the tensioner arm, and it has a little E-clip that fits here on the groove on the end of the shaft, and you can just pop that on with your finger, and that's all secure now. The other piece that has to go on is the rubbing block, and this is a new one. You'll notice that right here it's got a curved face, and that's the side that faces you. On the back side it's flat. Now the hardware has a thick flat washer that fits here, and then the second flat washer will go here. So when I install the block, I make sure the curved end is facing out, and then this is the bolt that's going to go in the top, and it has a wave washer. So I hold the thick washer behind it, slide the bolt up to catch it, and screw that in like that. And then the bottom is a nut and wave washer. So that goes on like that, and then the nut goes on. And what I'll do is position, this has a free play, I'll position this so that it's just against the chain. It doesn't have to be any tighter than that. The last thing I'm going to do is put engine oil on all the chain sprockets, on the teeth and on the chain, and also into the roller bearing, sorry, the ball bearings here. this doesn't get any lubrication until the high pressure relief valve opens. So first engine start, I want to make sure everybody's got some lubrication until that valve can open and start dripping oil onto all of the running components.